"I can't afford a Barbie for your birthday." The words barely escaped her lips, more like a whisper than a sentence. A single mother, a minimum wage job, a little girl staring at a pink box in a store window. She didn't know someone else was listening. She didn't know that the man standing behind her, the one in the tailored suit, was a CEO. And she definitely didn't expect what he did next. Pause. Today isn't just about a Barbie. It's about dignity, kindness, and the power of one human reaction. The struggle of single parents is one of the quietest struggles in our society. Not because it is small, but because it is often carried with strength, patience, and silence. Single parents, especially single mothers, learn early that the world does not always pause to understand their circumstances. Bills still arrive on time. Rent still needs to be paid. Children still need food, clothes, school supplies, and emotional support. And through all of this, the parent is expected to remain strong, composed, and capable, no matter how heavy the burden becomes. Unlike visible hardships, the struggles of single parents are rarely announced. They do not stand in public spaces explaining their financial stress or emotional exhaustion. Instead, these struggles are whispered, in grocery store aisles, at pharmacy counters, and in moments like the one in our story, inside a toy store. When a single mother whispers, "I can't afford a Barbie for your birthday," she is not just talking about a toy. She is expressing a deeper reality. The constant calculation, the mental math that never stops. Every purchase means something else must be delayed, sacrificed, or denied. For single parents, money is never just money. It represents security, stability, and survival. A few extra dollars could mean better groceries for the week or a school trip their child doesn't have to miss. That is why even small expenses carry emotional weight. Saying no to a child is not easy for any parent, but for a single parent, it often comes with guilt layered on top of exhaustion. They are not just saying no to a toy, they are battling the fear that their child might feel different, left out, or less deserving than others. What makes this struggle even heavier is the lack of acknowledgement. Society often romanticizes resilience while ignoring the cost of it. We praise single parents for being strong and independent, yet we rarely ask how tired they are. Strength becomes an expectation rather than a choice. Single parents cannot afford to fall apart publicly because their children depend on them emotionally just as much as financially. So they hold themselves together, even when the weight feels unbearable. There is also an invisible emotional labor that single parents carry alone. They are the sole decision-makers, comforters, disciplinarians, and providers. When a child is sick, scared, or disappointed, there is no one else to share the responsibility. There is no backup parent to step in when energy runs out. This constant responsibility creates a quiet mental fatigue that follows them everywhere, from work to home to moments that are supposed to be joyful, like birthdays. The whisper in the toy store reflects this emotional exhaustion. It is quiet not because the pain is small, but because the parent has learned that vulnerability is risky. Admitting struggle can invite judgment, pity, or unsolicited advice. Many single parents have experienced looks that silently ask, "Why are you alone?" Or, "Did you make bad choices?" Over time, this judgment teaches them to minimize their needs and soften their disappointments, even with their own children. Children of single parents often see more than adults realize. They notice hesitation before purchases, stress during bill payments, and emotional restraint during difficult moments. This awareness can make moments like birthdays especially sensitive. A parent wants to protect their child from feeling the weight of adult problems, yet reality often slips through in small, unavoidable ways. A whispered apology becomes a shield, an attempt to soften disappointment while preserving a child's happiness. The silence surrounding single-parent struggles also exists because help is not always accessible or offered. Assistance programs can be difficult to navigate, and asking for help often comes with shame. Many single parents feel they must prove they are deserving of support, reinforcing the idea that their struggle is a personal failure rather than a structural issue. As a result, they endure quietly, hoping their sacrifices will remain unseen. This silence is not weakness, it is survival. Single parents learn to manage their emotions, budgets, and fears internally because there is no margin for collapse. Their whispers are acts of love, meant to protect their children from the harshness of reality. But when those whispers go unheard, the burden grows heavier. Understanding the silent struggle of single parents requires listening beyond words. It means recognizing that behind calm expressions and gentle smiles may exist overwhelming pressure. It means acknowledging that the quietest moments often carry the loudest pain. And it means realizing that a simple sentence, spoken softly in a toy store, can represent years of sacrifice, resilience, and love carried without applause or recognition. Dignity is one of the most fragile yet powerful human needs. It is the sense of self-worth that allows a person to stand tall even when life is difficult. For people facing financial hardship, dignity often matters more than money itself. Charity can provide temporary relief, but dignity preserves identity, pride, and emotional survival. This is why the way help is offered can be just as important as the help itself. In moments of struggle, people do not only fear lacking resources, they fear losing respect. A single parent, already carrying the weight of responsibility alone, does not want to feel like a burden or a failure. Accepting help can feel humiliating if it comes with judgment, pity, or exposure. That is why many people would rather go without than accept assistance that strips them of dignity. The fear is not of being poor, but of being seen as less. In the story of the single mother and the Barbie, the emotional risk is immense. The mother is not asking for help. She is not begging or complaining. She is quietly managing disappointment while trying to protect her child from pain. This restraint is an act of dignity. She is preserving her role as a capable parent, even when resources are limited. The whisper itself reflects care, control, and self-respect. When help is offered carelessly, it can unintentionally reinforce shame. Public gestures, dramatic displays, or condescending words can turn generosity into a spotlight that exposes vulnerability. A person receiving help may feel reduced to their hardship rather than seen as a whole human being. Charity that humiliates can wound deeper than poverty itself, leaving emotional scars that last long after the assistance is gone. True kindness, on the other hand, protects dignity. It does not announce itself. It does not demand gratitude. It does not position the giver as superior. When the CEO chose to act, the most powerful part of his response was not the money, it was the respect. By kneeling, speaking softly, and acknowledging the mother's effort, he affirmed her worth. He did not treat her as someone who had failed, but as someone who was trying. Dignity-centered kindness recognizes that people are more than their circumstances. A struggling parent is still a parent. A person in need is still capable, intelligent, and deserving of respect. When assistance is given in a way that honors this truth, it restores balance rather than creating emotional debt. The recipient does not feel owned by the giver, but supported by another human being. This distinction matters because shame has long-term consequences. Shame discourages people from seeking help in the future. It isolates them and deepens their struggle. Many individuals who face hardship have experienced moments where assistance came with strings attached, questions, lectures, or judgment disguised as concern. Over time, this teaches them to hide their needs, even when help could change their situation. Dignity allows people to accept help without losing themselves. It allows a parent to receive support without feeling like they have failed their child. It allows someone to stand back up instead of shrinking inward. When dignity is preserved, help becomes empowering rather than disabling. It strengthens resilience instead of weakening it. In a broader sense, dignity challenges the way society views poverty and struggle. Too often, people are blamed for circumstances shaped by systemic issues, low wages, rising costs, lack of support networks. When charity is offered without dignity, it reinforces the false idea that hardship is a personal flaw. When dignity is honored, it acknowledges that struggle is often a result of circumstances beyond one's control. The CEO's reaction demonstrates that dignity can be protected even in spontaneous moments. It does not require grand speeches or long explanations. It requires awareness, empathy, and restraint. It requires seeing the person before seeing the problem. This kind of kindness creates emotional safety, allowing the recipient to feel human rather than helpless. Dignity also impacts children who witness these moments. When a child sees their parent treated with respect, they learn that hardship does not define worth. They learn that asking for or receiving help does not mean losing value. This lesson shapes how they view themselves and others for years to come. By prioritizing dignity over charity, acts of kindness move beyond transaction and become connection. They recognize the shared humanity between giver and receiver. They communicate a powerful message without words. You matter exactly as you are, even in this moment of need. Because in the end, the greatest gift given that day was not the Barbie in the box. It was the restoration of dignity in a moment where it could have been lost. It was a reminder that help, when offered with respect, does not weaken a person, it strengthens them. And it shows us that true kindness is not measured by how much we give, but by how carefully we protect another person's humanity while giving it.